The year is 1940. Hitler's war machine cuts through Europe. On June 14th, Paris falls. This marked the beginning of the German occupation. From 1940 to 1944, France was under Nazi rule. The invasion exposed deep divisions within French society. Some advocated resistance, others supported appeasement. This struggle weakened France's resolve. As German troops marched into Paris, shock permeated the city. The French government, now in Vichy, signed an armistice with Germany. This surrender deepened divisions, creating a stark choice between collaboration and resistance. The armistice spared France from complete annihilation, but came at a heavy price. Germany occupied northern and western France, including the Atlantic coast. The south fell under the Vichy regime, a puppet government. France paid for its own occupation, crippling its economy. France had to accept German soldiers on its soil, a constant reminder of its defeat. The Nazis imposed strict censorship, controlling information flow. Thousands of Jews were deported to concentration camps. Daily life under the occupation was a struggle for survival for most French citizens. The German war machine, prioritizing its own needs, imposed strict rationing on essential goods like food, fuel, and clothing. Long queues became a common sight as people waited patiently, often in vain, for meager rations. Collaboration with the occupying forces became a complex and morally ambiguous issue. While some saw it as a necessary evil to ensure their own survival or protect their families, others actively cooperated with the Nazis, driven by ideological alignment or the pursuit of personal gain. This collaboration took many forms, from providing information to the Gestapo to participating in the deportation of Jews. However, even as the spectre of collaboration loomed large, a spirit of defiance began to emerge. Ordinary citizens, risking their lives, undertook small acts of resistance. They hid Allied airmen, distributed underground newspapers, and provided intelligence to the resistance networks. These acts of courage, though seemingly insignificant, became powerful symbols of hope and defiance. Section 4, Seeds of Defiance. The French resistance takes root. The French resistance, a multifaceted and often fragmented movement, emerged as a beacon of hope in the face of Nazi oppression. Composed of individuals from all walks of life, students, workers, intellectuals, disillusioned soldiers, the resistance represented the unwavering spirit of France. Operating clandestinely, resistance groups engaged in a variety of activities, from gathering intelligence and sabotaging German infrastructure to organizing escape networks for downed Allied pilots and escaped prisoners of war. These acts of sabotage, though often small in scale, disrupted German operations and boosted morale among the French population. One of the most celebrated resistance actions was the destruction of the Saint-Nazaire dry dock in 1942. This daring raid, carried out by British commandos with French support, put the dry dock out of commission for the remainder of the war, denying its use to German battleships. Section 5. Voices of dissent, from underground presses to acts of sabotage. The resistance movement understood the power of information in their struggle against Nazi tyranny. They established clandestine printing presses, churning out underground newspapers and leaflets that provided an alternative to the propaganda disseminated by the Vichy regime and the German occupiers. These publications, often handwritten or crudely printed, served as a lifeline for the French people. They reported on the true course of the war, exposed Nazi atrocities, and called for continued resistance. The distribution of these materials was a risky endeavor, often carried out by women and young people who were less likely to arouse suspicion. Beyond the printed word, the resistance found other ways to make their voices heard. Acts of sabotage, while disrupting German operations, also served as a powerful form of symbolic resistance. Cutting telephone lines, derailing trains, and defacing Nazi posters were all ways in which the resistance demonstrated their defiance and undermined the aura of Nazi invincibility. Scars of occupation, echoes of resilience. The tide of the war began to turn in 1944 with the Allied landings in Normandy on June 6th, D-Day. The liberation of France was marked by fierce fighting and heavy casualties. Paris was finally liberated on August 25, 1944. The sight of French and Allied troops marching down the Champs-Élysées marked the end of a long nightmare. However, the scars of occupation ran deep. The liberation brought retribution against Nazi collaborators. Trials were held and many faced severe punishments. The process of reconciliation and rebuilding was long and painful. The German occupation left an indelible mark on France's psyche. It was a period of immense suffering, but also one of extraordinary courage and resilience. The French resistance embodied the spirit of defiance that contributed to the liberation of France.